Our thoughts have immense power over our lives. They shape how we see the world and affect our choices. Many of these thoughts happen automatically. You barely notice them, yet they influence everything. A sentence like, "I'm not good enough," can feel like a fact, but it's just a thought. A belief you picked up somewhere along the way, maybe even as a child. And it's precisely these kinds of thoughts that often block you, weigh you down, and keep you stuck in old patterns. What if many of these thoughts aren't even true? This is where the path to inner freedom begins, with the honest, open question, is that really true? This simple question, asked calmly, without any pressure, can set your whole inner system in motion, because it creates space. Space between you and the thought. And in this space, you can begin to observe, to feel, to understand. You don't have to change anything right away. It's not about pushing thoughts away or thinking positively. It's just about questioning them, gently, honestly, with an open heart. In the next part, I'll show you how you can work with this question in specific situations where you feel trapped inside. Imagine you have a thought like, "My colleague doesn't respect me." You notice that this thought is bothering you. Maybe you're annoyed, feel hurt, or even start to withdraw. Now comes the question, is that really true? You pause for a moment and you listen inward. Maybe you spontaneously say, "Yes, of course it's true." But then you ask a second time, calmer, deeper, "Can I know with absolute certainty that this is true?" And suddenly it becomes quiet. Maybe you realize, "I don't know. Maybe he was just stressed. Maybe it has nothing to do with me." This moment is precious, because in this moment, the old story begins to crack a little. You start to no longer believe everything you think. If you continue, you can ask yourself, how do I react when I believe this thought? And you'll see. You tense up. You become suspicious. You act defensively. Then comes the fourth question. Who would I be without this thought? Suddenly, you see yourself in the same situation, but inwardly free. Maybe even curious, more open, no longer trapped in your interpretation. These four questions seem simple at first glance, but they lead you to a depth you may not have felt for a long time. You begin to understand the thought itself is not the problem. The problem is that you believe it without question. In the next part, we'll look at how you can examine particularly stubborn thoughts, the ones that keep creeping back into your life. There are thoughts that don't just come once. They keep popping up, sometimes for years. Thoughts like, "I'm not good enough. I'll never be truly loved. It's my fault that it turned out this way." Such thoughts are not only burdensome, they have a deep impact. They influence your self-image, your relationships, your courage to try new things. And often you've believed them for so long that they feel like an inner truth. But here too, it all starts with that one honest question. Is that really true? When you examine this thought calmly and without rushing, something wonderful can happen. You realize that this thought doesn't come from the present moment at all, but from the past. Maybe it was taught to you. Maybe it arose from an experience you never fully understood, and yet you began to adopt it as part of your identity. The question, "Can I know with absolute certainty that this is true?" brings light into this old darkness, because almost always the answer is no. You can't know for sure, and that's precisely the beginning of freedom. Because what you don't know for sure, you don't have to automatically believe. Sometimes it helps to write down such thoughts, black on white, and then examine them with each of the 4 questions. Maybe several times, maybe in silence, maybe with an open heart. And often, very quietly, something else shows up underneath. A feeling, sadness, fear, shame. When you give this feeling space, without suppressing it, something healing happens. The thought loses its power. And you realize, I am not the thought. I am the awareness that questions it. In the last part, we'll summarize everything with a conclusion, a reflection question, and an invitation to inner peace. Sometimes it's not life itself that burdens us, but what we think about it, the stories we tell ourselves, the judgments we make, the voices within us that feel like truth but may never have been examined. The question, "Is that really true?" opens a space where you become still, where you don't react automatically, but pause. And in this very space, something new begins. Clarity, calmness, and maybe even compassion for yourself and for others. You don't have to get rid of all your thoughts. You don't have to force yourself to think differently. You can simply observe, quietly question, and notice you are not the thought. You are that which can see the thought. The more often you have this inner dialogue, honestly, lovingly, openly, the lighter your heart becomes, and maybe at some point you'll feel not every thought has to be believed to be taken seriously. Some can just be there and move on. Reflection question for today. Which thought keeps occupying? The more often you have this inner dialogue, honestly, lovingly, openly, the lighter your heart becomes, and maybe at some point you'll feel not every thought has to be believed to be taken seriously. Some can just be there and move on. Reflection question for today. Which thought keeps occupying? What would change if you no longer automatically believed what you tell yourself? Take a moment today, write down this thought, and quietly ask, is that really true? Maybe this is the first step to something new, something lighter. If you'd like to discover more about yourself and are looking for ways to go through life more relaxed and positive, subscribe to the channel. That would help both you and me. Here, you'll regularly find videos that help you consciously deal with your thoughts, understand yourself better, and find the path to inner freedom, gently, honestly, and at your own pace. Thank you for taking the time. Maybe this very moment was a quiet beginning of something very big within you.